And game number 1 will be on Romanticide, LE. LE of course stands for lovers, irradiation. Lovers irradiation. That is when your pheromones, you know, just go out there, mate. Just like Vortex. I don't know. Spawning in the bottom left, top left hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the Peruvian, the Italian, the Stallion, the Street Fighter himself. It is, of course, representing himself as he is teamless, Ryu. And in the bottom right hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the Brazilian Zerg player. He is blue, representing Team The Bad. It is TheZergLord. Not to be confused with the Zerg Troll, who I always confuse their names. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen the Zerg Troll in the chat. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But here we go. So far, there's been like an agreement between these two players. They did go for hatch first openings. Ryu going for a little bit of a faster gas here. Meanwhile, the ZergLord looking to get his own gas just a little bit later instead. A small divergence in the builds, but it's not the biggest of deals. And we'll see how things go here. Again, Romanticide is a map that we assume to be more macro-oriented. We may see some roach battles between these two players, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see. When they take their third bases, is anyone going to try and deny that? Are they going to go for any kind of Ling Floods? Is someone going to go for, you know, fast lair into fast Mutalisks? When I look at Ryu, obviously he can be very aggressive with his multitasking and his multi-pronged attacks. We were looking at how he was doing with his Dropper Lords against Egg and how impressive that was. How he was kind of able to hit multiple places at once and then use Burrow Roaches as well. It's something that he enjoys playing with in multiple matchups, so we'll see. As for now, Ryu is going for that faster Ling speed, as he did have the faster gases. The ZergLord, his Ling speed is not too far behind, only a couple of seconds later. Will it come into play? Probably not. Probably not. It's only like a couple of seconds. It isn't the biggest of deals, but we'll see. We'll see. As the Lings of both players are moving out across the map, only 2 Lings each. Oh, Ryu going through the center of the map. Meanwhile, the ZergLord sneaking around towards the north. Interesting choice. And Ryu's Lings will be met by the queens of the ZergLord, so they won't be able to do too much, but they will be able to scout the third base. Both players do scout each other. Just chipping away. Meanwhile, Ryu actually made 2 defensive Lings at home, so he is able to chase away the Lings of the ZergLord. Meanwhile, the ZergLord likewise made a couple of Lings at home as well. So they do push each other away. And what's important is that both players go for Bailey Nests. Quite often we see one of the players skip it and go straight into a Roach Warren, just to like be a little bit greedy and cut some corners. But we see that this time both players, again, they're respecting each other. They don't want to die to any kind of Ling Flood. Speaking of, the ZergLord is the first player to make a wave of 10 Lings. Meanwhile, Ryu is still droning up. So this is still fine for Ryu. Again, as soon as this Bailey Nest finishes, as long as you morph in some Bailings at home, you should be fine. You should be perfectly fine. Just morph him in. There we go. We have a Baneling being morphed in. Meanwhile, at home, the ZergLord also morphing in a couple of Banelings as well. He is going out with his own Lings. Meanwhile, he's being scouted. Ryu is able to get a nice timing on the lair of the ZergLord, which is pretty important. He will have to do a follow-up scout to see if the gases are taken as well. Meanwhile, the ZergLord, he tries to get in with his Ling, but he is not able to. And the lair not too far behind for Ryu. So as we can see, it looks like both players are going towards Roaches. Ryu going for the faster upgrades, which we saw he did the same thing against Egg. It looks like he prefers to go for a faster Evo Chamber. Meanwhile, the ZergLord, you know, his upgrades are a little bit later, but he is still working on the Roach Warren. So we see like he isn't looking to go into mutas or anything weird like that. Just committing to Roaches. and neither player was overly aggressive. Even though the ZergLord made that wave of lings, for the most part, he's just trying to gain map control. He's just being defensive at home. He just doesn't want to die, which I don't blame him. So yeah, they're both kind of chilling. They're both droning up, working on their upgrades. The ZergLord has a little bit of a faster roach speed, which is pretty important, especially because Ryu still hasn't started his own. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that Ryu hasn't prioritized that. He's actually focusing on a second Evo chamber instead. Okay. He's still working on that Roach Warren, but yeah, going for double Evo. Meanwhile, ooh, I was curious. We pointed out that the ZergLord was going for a faster lair, and it's like, yo, what is that for if it is going to be for mutas? And we see it is for this Nidus. Oh my. Meanwhile, as I quickly check the vision here of Ryu as the lings do get cleaned up, Ryu does dive in with his Overseer. He sees the lair. He has not seen the Nidus. He missed it completely. And even if he goes into the natural, he still doesn't know. And the the Overseer of the ZergLord is ready to dive in and throw down a Nidus in the main. Or in the middle of the map. Here we go. It is going to be a reinforcement point here for the ZergLord. Ryu, he's expanding. He's still focusing a little bit too much on his economy. He needs to be focusing on his defense, but he still has no idea. But now he does, as the Nidus does finish up for the ZergLord. We'll see if Ryu tries. Nope. Doesn't even try to defend his fourth. He gives it up. He's like, nah, screw this, mate. I'm done. Oh boy, Ryu, as he is trying to defend here on top of the ramp, and so far he does have enough. We just see another Nidus being thrown down in the main base of Ryu, but Ryu, he responds, and he does have a couple of roaches here, but it looks like the Nidus will finish. Oh no, it finishes, and it looks like the Nidus will just barely be focused down, but not before enough roaches come out to be a bit of an issue here. Thankfully, Ryu, he does respond, and he does have just barely enough roaches to push this away. One queen does fall. No drones are being focused down, so these roaches aren't really achieving much, but there is another Nidus in the third base of Ryu. Ryu does have enough roaches here, he does have roaches in position to defend, but he's being overwhelmed. Oh my god, even more roaches are just flooding through. Ryu, his army, he needs to respond, and finally he does. There are spines here to help out, but another Nidus is being thrown down in the natural base. Ryu, though, he's on top of this one. Or he kind of is. He does have two roaches chipping away at it, and he needs whatever he can to defend here at the third base. It looks like he maybe just barely will push the ZergLord away, but he does get reinforced by even more roaches coming out of the Nidus. Meanwhile, that spine needs to burrow. It is. He does have another spine supporting this army, but Ryu, he's actually starting to lose the roach fight. He's being spread too thin. It looks like he will. Wow. Just barely take out the Nidus in the main base, cuts off the reinforcements, wins the battle in the main. Can he hold on here in the natural? Honestly, he has barely lost any workers, which is huge. He just needs to survive, and he does force the drones to be pulled off the line. The spines are doing so well defensively here, but the drones are starting to fall, and there are just barely not enough roaches. My god, 2-3 Niduses here at the third base. It's just too much. Ryu, he's trying to barely get as many roaches out, and it looks like he will be able to just barely push this away. Oh my god. I keep saying that, but the Niduses keep finishing. I don't know how much they're helping though. It's like, great, there are 3 Niduses, but what about your army? As every single Nidus goes down, another Nidus is being thrown up in the main base. This one will fall as well. There is a small group here going straight into the natural though, and he's trying to get the Roach Warren. Oh my god, the big brain, but he's forced back. I like it. He was being a little bit cheeky there, but Ryu was on top of it. Ryu, he has eyes all over the place. He was able to hold in his main, in his third, in his natural, and that is fourth. Well, would be fourth, I should say. And Ryu, things are looking really chaotic there, but I love like his decision making, like throwing down those spines to help defend, being able to split up his army, pulling the boys when he needed to, being on point with his production. And as all this was happening, wow, he's throwing down a spire as well. Oh, this is scary though. So we have another Nidus in the main. This isn't gonna finish up. Ryu, he has forces ready for it, but now we have a massive Zerg army pushing through the center of the map. And what's scary is the fact that Ryu is investing in tech, right? He has a Spire on the way, and that's not going to come into play. Like, he has to focus on roaches. If he switches into mutas now, he's dead. Like, he needs to focus on his ground army, otherwise he'll just be overwhelmed. Oh boy, at the same time, wow, somehow, some way, these roaches went across the map for Ryu, and finally, for the first time this game, Ryu is able to apply some pressure across the map. The banelings, they do nothing. The queens are being focused down. At the same time, the ZergLord is trying to push up the ramp into the heart of Ryu's bases. The ZergLord does have some Ravagers, and that's helping a lot. Oh, there's a bit of a traffic jam out here in the natural base as well. Ryu, he does not have everything attacking, but regardless, he has enough to push away the ZergLord. And Ryu, not only does Ryu defend, but he also deals all that counter damage, killing those drones. Like, there's barely any mining here at the natural base. Ay, ay, ay. Meanwhile, the ZergLord, he did expand, he did take a 4th base, so, you know, he isn't completely out of it. It's like he has been on top of his expansions at least, but now that Ryu has some time to breathe, the mutas are finally on the way, and the mutas, like, they are going to be the big playmaker here for Ryu. Right now, how much anti-air is there? What's important is, yo, the queens were sniped earlier. There's only one queen. There is literally only one queen for the ZergLord. That is all the anti-air he has. He has no spores, and GG gets called when the mutas reveal themselves. Ay, ay, ay. The ZergLord was ahead in workers at the time, and he had a solid ground army, but he was not ready for mutas. A single queen, and that's why it was so important that Ryu was able to counterattack with those roaches. Like, he was able to snipe the queens earlier with those 4 to 5 roaches that he had, which was huge. Like, it all kind of led up to that nail in the coffin. That ace card, if you will. GG. Well played. Ryu takes game number 1, and I think that really showcased a lot of the skill of these two players and their styles as well. I was talking about it as we were getting into the series. The ZergLord with the ultra aggression, Nidus is all over the place. At the same time, Ryu with his solo defense, right, with his decision making, being able to defend and sneak out a Spire at the same time. Really, really well done. That's why I love these guys. Oh my god, as Xavier is letting us know. Shout out to Darth Mono. Oh my, I don't know if he's in this chat or if he's in Jim Rising's chat. Darth Mono does sound Latin American, which is Darth Monkey, by the way. Darth Mono adding 100 USD to the prize pool. Oh my god. This may be the biggest Copa Hyperion prize pool ever. To be fair, there's only been 18 of these, but yeah, massive shout out to Darth Mono. If you are here in the chat, we really appreciate it. Xavier was just giving you love in the in-game chat. Xavier is the tournament organizer of Copa Hyperion, so much love, much love. But here we go. We are now in game number 2 and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE. We have the Peruvian Zerg player. He's red, representing himself. It is Ryu. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Brazilian Zerg player. He is, of course, blue, representing Team The Bad. Currently down 0-1 in this best-of-3 series. It is the ZergLord. And a lesser player would have fallen to the ZergLord in game 1, right? Like, there were Niduses everywhere, like there was aggression all over the place. The ZergLord was on fire, but you know what? Ryu was hotter, you know? Ryu, he was calm, he was collected, he was able to defend everywhere at once. It was insane. He was able to throw down spines. He had a follow-up play as well. It was crazy. Ryu would have had a much harder time just like progressing in that game, especially focusing on a ground-based army. Like, defender's advantages can be pretty huge when it comes to Roach versus Roach. So going for those mutas was so smart. Oh god. I love it. And we'll see how things shape out here on Jagannatha. The ZergLord, he's gone for mutas in the past before. Infamously, he went mass muta against Neo, and he lost because of that. Because he went mass muta against Widowmine and didn't have any detection. I'm shaking my head, the ZergLord. But yeah, we'll see if things change here. The reason why I bring up Mutas is because Jagannatha is a pretty long map, and it can favor that kind of sky play, like Muta play. We could even stumble ourselves into some kind of Muta versus Muta match, which would be a lot of fun. We don't see too many of those. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, the ZergLord may go for his Niduses again. As at the moment, things are pretty normal. You know, no one is being ultra aggressive. Everyone went for their hatch gas pool openings. We got speed on the way. No one skipped speed or anything like that. No one is going, you know, into fast roaches or fast banelings. Everyone's just kind of expanding, taking their third bases. Pretty normal so far, which is just how game one started. And then we saw them diverge a little bit, you know, faster lair, faster evo chamber, faster roach warren, things like that. And that's where we have to keep our eyes open for these two. At the moment, oh, nice micro there. The ZergLord coming out a little bit on top in the 2v2. Meanwhile, Ryu coming out on top over here, so both players... Oh, actually, the ZergLord losing 2 Lings. Is it a big deal? Not really. Just Ryu getting a little bit ahead. And here we go. Once again, Ryu, he favors the faster Evo Chamber. The faster upgrades, if you will. Meanwhile, the ZergLord does try to slip in, but... the scout is denied. We do see 10 more Lings on the way. This is just like game number 1 though, where the ZergLord, he got 10 Lings really just to defend. He wasn't really aggressive with them. So we'll see if that changes here, as he does catch the Ling in the main, but Ryu gets in. He sees, hey, there's still a hatchery here. There's no fast lair. Don't have anything to be worried about for now. And there it is. +1 range on the way for Ryu. +1 range on the way for the ZergLord as well. Like 1 second after, but you know, still perfectly timed. It's still fine. And once again, the ZergLord, he's just here defending at home. He's got his banelings, he's got his Lings. At the same time, Ryu, likewise, also has its own baneling and Lings. Ryu is just being a little bit more cost efficient. He made less Lings to defend, and he also only morphed in 1 baneling. So it can be a little bit risky because you are relying a lot on not mismicroing that baneling if you do get Ling flooded, but he's confident in his skill. I say that and then then the baneling gets like killed by one Ling. But yeah, so far so good as both players are taking up. This time both players are getting their lairs at around the same time, so no one will have that crazy advantage as they had in game number 1. Which I'm a little bit concerned about, because to me that tells me that the ZergLord isn't going to go for Niduses. I am disappointed, to say the least. God damn it, the ZergLord. I wanted more Niduses. But something that is interesting, and that will probably come into play, is that Ryu is working on Pneumatide's Carapace. That is, of course, Overlord speed. And if you were here in the beginning of the day, in the beginning of the broadcast, Ryu versus Egg, Ryu did go for Dropalords. He did drop banelings into mineral lines. He dropped roaches into main bases. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's just setting himself up for something like that. As we see, we're just kind of taking up at the moment. +2 already on the way for Ryu, the ZergLord. Not too far behind, as long as he starts +2 ASAP. As they're both scouting each other. Yeah, there we go. +2 is on the way for the ZergLord as well. And yeah, they're both just scouting each other as best they can with their overseers, making sure there's nothing crazy going on, making sure there's no Nidus, no Spire, no Infestation Pit. Meanwhile, we do have a Waddle by. It's not going to deal too much damage. He did kill some larva, which is nice. Only dealt damage to the drones. It does take two banelings to kill drones unless you have melee upgrades. But of course there are no melee upgrades here. But yo, we do have a couple of Lings, and again, because these drones are softened up, it is possible for those Lings to sneak in and focus them down, but there is a defensive bailing here for the ZergLord. The Lings, they do hit the 4th base instead. At the same time, we do see the Roach army moving out here into the middle of the map for the ZergLord. The ZergLord looking to try and maybe catch his opponent off guard, but Ryu, mate, he's got plenty of Roaches here to defend. He should have enough to push away the ZergLord. Yeah, as the two armies do clash, the ZergLord does turn around. The ZergLord does have a Ravager here, but, yo, the Ravager gets focused down before a Bile even lands. Oh my god. The army movement there of Ryu, Jesus Christ. As the ZergLord does get pushed away. The Lings that were harassing across the map, they did get dealt with. They weren't able to deal too much damage, but Ryu is able to assert himself here across the map. And, oh my. Ryu is working on Burrow and Tunneling Claws. So Ryu looking to stay on Roach Ravager for quite some time, looking to harass with them as best he can. He does send a couple of Roaches here to the bottom right, but there are no workers. There are no workers to focus down. So these Roaches are just being traded for free, essentially. They are all going to, well, they should all go down somehow, some way. They're actually going to sneak away. At the same time, ooh, the main Roach army is pushing forward here for the ZergLord. The ZergLord actually gets a pretty good position on some idle Roaches and gets a lot of free shots off. But pushing up a ramp is so difficult in StarCraft. Not if your opponent goes down the ramp, though. Again, the ZergLord does come out on top a little bit there, but pushing up a ramp, just can't do it. Does back off. Same time, the Roaches do come back here to the bottom right. Ryu, he's just making sure there's no mining here. To be fair, there just weren't any drones anyway. The armies do clash again. Ryu does get some biles off. For the most part, the two players are pretty good at dodging each other. The army value is in favor of the ZergLord here, and the ZergLord is trying to push on forward. Oh god, but the defender's advantage is pretty good as well for Ryu, and he is looking to hold here, but yo, he's getting flanked, and the Ravagers are being focused down. Yo, Ryu, he's losing this position. A couple more biles do land, but they don't get the connections he needs, and he's being forced to pull boys off the line. Ryu is getting overwhelmed. Would you have a couple of Roaches just getting in here? But Ryu, he's going to lose drones. He's going to lose workers. And Ryu does have enough Roaches to defend, but he does take a pretty big blow to his economy as 10 drones go down. Ay, ay, ay. And if you're wondering how that happened, well, part of that is because Ryu invested in Burrow and Tunneling Claws. Like, when you're investing in tech like that, then your army is going to be weaker as a result. And the problem is that he hasn't really been able to use his Tunneling Claws yet. Would you have a couple of Roaches sneaking across the map? And yo, he got the Queen, which is pretty huge. So he's using those upgrades, but can he defend at home? That's the big question. That's what really matters. Ryu is ahead on upgrades. He does have +2 carapace to the +0 of the ZergLord, so he does have slightly better Roaches. They still has to respect the concave. In the end, the ZergLord, he's trying to force himself up the ramp, which isn't really working out for him. And there are no reinforcements here either, so the ZergLord needs to get out of here. At the same time, we did have a bit of a run by, but Ryu, revealing his Burrow, was able to keep all his drones alive. Well, most of them. He did lose 3. We see the ZergLord is reinforcing his army. He just needs a little bit more time to catch up in terms of those upgrades. Surprisingly, we see spines being thrown down as well, which makes sense. The ZergLord is aware that Burrow hasn't been researched, and it's really difficult to split up your army, so just throw down some spines, throw down some stack defense to be safe at home. And the ZergLord can focus on the main army fight instead. He still needs a little bit more time to equalize in those upgrades, but regardless, he has the numbers advantage, and he's just pushing on forward here, trying to push in. But, oh god, Ryu, he just has so much here, and I don't know if I really like this from the ZergLord. Like, he's really trying to force it, and he's losing a lot of his army, and if he loses too much, then Ryu can just go for a counterattack. Like, all the Roaches are dead, and now the Ravagers are gonna start falling. Like, this is disastrous for the ZergLord. Like, mate, you gotta get out of here. God, at the same time, we got borrowed Roaches across the map. Again, because there are spines, like, there are defenses, there's detection as well, so the ZergLord can defend at home, but it's distracting him, and god, more Ravagers are falling. Like, these are expensive. Like, you don't want to be losing Ravagers of all things. God, and now Ryu is across the map. He is the one looking to push up into the bases of the ZergLord, which, man, is not going to work out for him. The ZergLord, like, he had enough time to reinforce his army, and he has the defender's advantage. He's got plenty here to defend. Ryu, like, there's no way he can really do much with this. He is forced back. Oh, God, and Ryu is taking a couple more losses here. Oh, my God. That's 2 more roaches get picked off. He is working on his +2 carapace, but it's a little bit late, and now both players are working on it at around the same time. It did kind of slip Ryu's mind a little bit, and now the ZergLord, he does have another massive army advantage. To be fair, the ZergLord's army is still coming across the map, so he doesn't have everything here, but again, like, once it does arrive, like, Ryu, once again, he's kind of up against the wall. Oh god, he's trying to micro his heart out. He does have an advantage in Ravagers, I guess, but he hasn't really been able to throw down any biles recently. Oh, he ends up eating more biles to the face as well. Ryu, he's trying to defend. He loses his Evo Chamber. Thankfully, it was not the Evo Chamber that was researching, but there's just so much Roach Ravager here. More biles are landing. Ryu, please. Oh my god. You just can't afford to take those Ravager shots. Ravager shots do so much damage. In the end, it looks like Ryu will be able to defend. He did lose a couple of buildings, but it wasn't the biggest of deals. You know, an Evo Chamber almost loses a Baneling Nest. And Ryu does get forced into a less than ideal position here. Again, just roaches versus roaches right now. And oh god, Ryu, he's losing his buffer, mate. Oh my god, loses another Ravager down to only 4. And now the ZergLord, he has so much momentum going his way. GG gets called, and the ZergLord takes game number 2. And this is like the thing that the struggle of ZvZ when it comes to Roach versus Roach is that if you invest in other areas, so if you throw down a Spire, if you get upgrades like Burrow and Tunneling Claws, if you get a Hydra Den, like, taking up like this, you could argue is like a good thing, right? To like make your army better. But what it means is that your army is smaller. You're spending all these resources elsewhere, right? And if you get caught out, then, you know, at the end of the day, the higher Roach count wins. That's kind of how it goes. That's why it's so difficult to really tech up like that. And Ryu, he invested in both Burrow and Tunneling Claws, and he killed like a queen, maybe 2 queens, and that's kind of it. He wasn't really able to get any economic damage whatsoever. He barely killed any drones that game. I think maybe 10 in total, after all that harassment, if that. It just wasn't really there for him. Oof. And now the ZergLord ties up the series. And we are going into that ace match. I'm a little bit sad. I would have loved to have seen some drop harass, but at the same time, like, it was so difficult for Ryu to really send any roaches across the map. Like, at all times, he kind of needed them at home to defend. Like, there was, like, the ZergLord just had so much. Oh boy. And now, here we go. This is it. Game number 3 between these 2 players. The final game in this ZvZ series. Let's see how it goes. As we are loading into Oxide LE, one of the older maps in the map pool. I'm a little bit sad, disappointed we didn't get one of the newer ones in this series, but we are here. And spawning in the bottom left is the Peruvian Zerg player. He is red. It is Ryu. And spawning in the top right, we have the Brazilian Zerg player representing Team The Bad. Tying up that series 1-1. It is the ZergLord. And both players going for Hatch first. I'm surprised. But it makes sense. We're on the A smash. You don't want to risk it all on a 12 pool or a 13-12 or anything like that. Unfortunately. But we'll see. We shall see how things shape out between these two. We've seen Ryu defend against the multi-prong aggression of the ZergLord, and we've seen the ZergLord prevail when it comes to just straight up Roach battles, Roach Ravager battles. Just make Roaches, get your injects on point, defend at home, and that's all you got to do. We'll see what Ryu can pull out here. We'll see if like, because for 2 games now he has gone for those like burrow and tunneling claws. We'll see if he just spends more resources on that again. On a map like Oxide, I guess you could. It is a little bit bigger. You have a lot of room to work with. There are a lot of choke points, so it can be a little bit easier to defend. So maybe it's worth doing that because you can defend with a lot less at home. It's always risky to do something like that, but we'll see. We shall see. Of course, the voice in the back of my head is always saying Mutas. Go Mutas! I would love to see that. Obviously, Ryu won game number 1 with that, but we didn't really get to see the Mutas come into play too much. It just kind of ended the game. As both players are taking their third bases, they're both expanding at the moment. Again, pretty standard. Ryu scouting his opponent, seeing what he's going for. Meanwhile, shout out to Vortex in the chat. Vortex, of course, he is adminning this tournament today. Much love to Vortex. He's asking what? I was talking about the duct tape. The upcoming duct tape. It's on the way. I actually mentioned that before we went on an ad break, but yeah. Oh my. So we do have a pretty big difference here. A massive difference, actually. Oh my, as these are starting to kick off. So Ryu, again, things are pretty standard where he's going for the Baneling Nest to defend. Meanwhile, the ZergLord is going for a massive Ling Flood here. No Baneling Nest, going straight into a Roach Warren behind this, and the Lings are flooding across the map. And this is dangerous for the ZergLord, I would say. Because sure, like, he's got a mass amount of Lings to gain map control. There are Banelings, and oh my god, the Banelings are being denied though. Oh god, as both Banelings do get cancelled. There are plenty of Lings though, and Lings on Lings, it looks like Ryu does barely have enough here to take the fight. He does pull back, but again, at any moment, he can morph in his own Banelings and just kind of swing the battle in his favor. Oh my god, as he turns around, not ideal. Ooh, but the Banelings are creeping on in, and enough Lings have gone down where the ZergLord doesn't have too many here to really threaten this third base. Meanwhile, Ryu is going across the map looking to take out the third of the ZergLord. Oh my god, and he's not attacking, he's actually pulling back home. Ay, and another Baneling goes down for free, and it looks like the ZergLord, I didn't think that he would be able to do it, but and another Baneling goes down, the A move, no, Ryu, he had 2 Banelings, and they both go down for 1 Ling each, and the third is gonna go down. Meanwhile, the Ryu, he was indecisive, and he turns back around to take out the third of the ZergLord, but the ZergLord, now that he's killed the third, he can go back home, he can potentially defend. We'll see the Lings, actually, no, not at all. He actually morphs in his own Banelings. He's got Roaches now. Sure, he may lose his third base, but it isn't the biggest of deals. What matters is the defenses at home for Ryu. Ryu has no eyes on this. Oh my god, he's really lacking in... Okay, he sees the Roaches coming out for the ZergLord, thankfully, with these Lings. But does he have enough to defend? He has Roaches, but he doesn't have any Spines. Mate, what's going on? He has 400 minerals. He has a bank. He could have thrown down some sack defense. He finally has eyes on the army outside his base, but does he have enough? Does he really have enough here? Meanwhile, 2 Banelings do get morphed in the main base of the ZergLord. Look, they connect with the... He doesn't pull away. He doesn't respond. 6 drones go down. At the same time, the ZergLord is pushing into the natural base with his main army. He has Lings, Banes, and Roaches. He's pushing on forward. Spines are on the way, but it's too late, mate. It doesn't look like Ryu has enough here. The Banelings get connections. Beautiful. And how is Ryu going to deal with the Roaches? Yeah, he won't. is the answer here. The Roaches of the ZergLord push on forward and take everything out. Well played is called. And the ZergLord takes the series. Wow. GG, well played. Oh my god, Ryu, I'm so surprised by how indecisive he was that game. Like, he had Lings out of the map, he had Banelings as well, but the Banelings, like, they didn't find any connections at all. Those Banelings were meant to be at home to protect that third, and if he protected it, then he would have had more lava to work with, and maybe the Roaches would have hit that first, and he would have been able to buy more time. Like, everything would have been different there, but losing the third the way he did, being kind of like in the middle of the map, not really knowing if he wanted to attack or defend at home, Ryu kind of fell apart there. And the ZergLord, he was decisive. He knew what he wanted to do. He had his eyes on the prize. He had that sneaky Roach Warren behind his main base. Well done.